Well guys, I've got some parts here. It's sort of the beginning of the year, so I'm starting to stack up on some parts. Usually around this time of year I make about a $200 budget to go out and buy new tools and stuff. Make a budget, go out and buy new tools. Like I bought a gasket scraper the other day, and then I had to go out and buy some air filters and stuff. And I just generally at this time of year, it's just about me getting ready for the upcoming spring rush, which is what I call it. It's usually when the everyone brings their mowers in for tune-up, and then everyone's on eBay or on Craigslist looking to buy mowers. So this is usually the time of year where everyone gets ready. So since it's sort of in the mood of getting ready for spring, I'm going to tell you what not to buy in the spring, which is a new Briggs and Stratton engine. This is happens to be a Yard Machines 21-inch lawnmower with the 500E series engine. It's got the primer bulb on it. Pretty decent sized engine for being one of the smaller models. It's got only a side discharge chute, no bag, no height adjusters. So almost the lowest of the low. I've seen ones that are actually smaller than this. But there's a couple reasons why you shouldn't buy this. One of them is because basically everything is going to plastic on these things. There's no more metal flywheel cups or metal carburetors. They couldn't put the money into that. See, there's the bowl down there. Right here, that's a plastic bowl. And it's definitely to cut costs, and it might even have something to do with planned obsolescence. Which, if you don't know what that means, it means basically making things so they break, and so people have to spend more money to fix it or buy a new one. And I'm not BSing you, these carburetors are entirely made of plastic. Besides the, well actually I think maybe even no they're not, but it's a really cheap ass design. Basically, the two issues that I've seen the most on these things is that the jets fail on them. Well, the second one's not really an issue, but first thing is that the jets fail on these quite often. They're so flimsy, and you pull them out to clean them, and you can clean them. You can replace the whole jet even. But it's still never going to run like new. There's still going to be always a surge and a miss in there. Well, not a miss, but I guess you could call it, well, yeah, it would be a miss, and a misfire, yeah. So there's still always going to be those surges and misfires even after you clean the carburetor out if you gum it up. And even if you don't gum it up, I've seen many of these carburetors come in, and plastic has just gotten so brittle over time, and it just completely gums up and completely screws it up, and you have to replace the jet, or you have to clean it out and put another one in. The second issue is they were cheap enough to make the carburetor plastic, but not cheap enough to make the bolts plastic, I guess. So you have to take special procedures to do this. You can't pry it like the metal ones. You have to be very careful with it, or you'll break something and you'll be in for a new carburetor. Especially, do not use impact drivers to tighten these bolts on this carburetor, because if it strips, then you're all done. You need a new carburetor. So that's not very fun. And some of y'all may be thinking, well, what about the old Briggs and Stratton carburetors? I don't actually have a mower here that has one, but it's even older than the Quantums, what I call the Pulsa Primes. They've got the carburetor goes down. It's got a big straw that goes down into the gas tank, and the primer bulb's on the side of the metal gas tank, and you press it. Those were built better. They were easy to clean. They were easy to take apart. And it's really unfortunate that they've gone to this style of design that makes people really not want to buy them anymore. Next thing is, it's actually a devil hidden inside here. The cup, when you pull this rope, it engages into a cup on the flywheel, which turns the flywheel and starts the engine. So Briggs and Stratton has, for either cutting costs probably, and then another thing, probably planned obsolescence too, has decided to make those cups plastic. I don't have one out right now. I do have one that I took off another mower. It wasn't broken, but I have seen them break before, because over time, this is actually a 2012, but over time when you're yanking and pulling it, especially if you pull it a lot, that cup's going to wear out, and those plastic tabs on it, there's 4 of them, those are going to wear out and break. And it's not like you can just remove these 3 bolts and out pops the flywheel cup, if that's what you're thinking. You have to have either an impact wrench, or maybe you can use a strap wrench, but it's really not recommended. So, like, don't go thinking that you can just pop it off with just a tiny little home toolkit. That's not going to happen. You're going to have to take it to somebody who has an impact. For us, it's a very simple repair. I can just go get my Chicago Electric impact right over there, and I can just remove these 3 bolts, pop it off, and then couple of hits with the impact, take the other one off, put the new one on, rev it down with the impact, and put these bolts back, and it's just like new. But it's so bad, and for whatever reason, going back to the carburetors, Briggs and Stratton has decided not to make any of these parts bulk. Meaning you can't buy 5 packs or 4 packs or 2 packs, so you can't buy any of those. You've got to buy them single on special order. You can buy these primer bulbs in bulk. I actually bought one in bulk for this one, and I decided to buy 2 of them. And for whatever reason, one of the bulbs they sent me was the big one, thankfully, but the other one was one of the normal Briggs Quantum engines. So I don't know if it was just a part that had gotten knocked in the Amazon bin, because that's where I bought it from. Maybe next time I'll order in 2, but the only bulk packs I saw for these bulbs were aftermarket Chinese things, and I usually don't screw with the aftermarket ones unless they're really dirt cheap. The only things I buy aftermarket are air filters, usually, and sometimes other parts. But this is a 2012 model year. It has had the carburetor cleaned out on it, and I put a new brake cable on it. I'll probably end up selling this for around $100 when the season starts. Another thing is that these inside the crankcase, they have for some reason gone to plastic cam gears, and even in some other cases plastic cam shafts and cam gears, which is really bad because these things really heat up. I have not noticed that as much of a problem as this and the carburetor, but they definitely are something to look out for and something I would not buy. So if you are looking for a new lawnmower, you may be asking, what do you buy? Well, not all lawnmower brands are complete crap. Honda makes very decent lawnmower engines because they're built like cars. These carburetors on these Hondas are made by Keihin, which makes throttle bodies on cars. They make the throttle bodies on, I think, most Hondas and maybe even some Toyotas or Kias or things like that. So they make very good things. They use NGK plugs, which are the BPR6ES, which are used on older cars, older Honda cars, and they even have an OHC design. So it's an overhead cam. Only downside is that there is a timing belt, not a timing chain. But I have never seen one of those break before, and if you're planning to just get another mower in probably, let's say, 10 years, then I wouldn't worry about it. And if it does break, then they can take it apart, or you can just buy a new mower. But I've never seen it happen on any mower, in fact. But I definitely recommend, if you want a lawnmower, buy a Honda lawnmower. I would stay away from the Honda ones with MTD decks. Try and buy a Honda, but the deck honestly isn't that bad on the MTDs. I mean, you could, if you don't want to spend the money on a true Honda lawnmower, then go for a Honda MTD one. Those are pretty good. Or a Honda, even better, Honda Husqvarna, or a Husqvarna rebadged Craftsman, or one of those things. Just get a Honda engine. If you don't want to buy a Honda, you can get a Kohler. Kohlers don't have OHD engines, but they do have a better design than the Briggs and Strattons. They're definitely pretty good. So the only engine that I definitely recommend you stay away from besides the Briggs and Stratton is the Powermore MTDs. They're the old ones were Kohler clones. I don't think the new ones are. They're made by some other Chinese company. I'd stay away from those. The quality just isn't that good. So this is why to avoid Briggs and Stratton engines, and why I avoid them too. Stay tuned for another video. I'll probably be putting something else up in the next couple of days. Thank you very much. Have a great afternoon.